essentially cannot be duplicated. The people who have worked there over the years are justifiably proud of their role in protecting our national security, but they've never been able to talk about it, not to their spouses, not even to each other. Tonight we're going to hear from the people who were there and the secrets they've kept for so long.
If I, as an adult, am not sovereign over my own consciousness, if I live in a society that does not allow me to have the keys to my own consciousness, then I can't claim to be free at all in any way.
Yeah.
And it's utterly pointless for me to talk and admire the achievements of democracy. To put somebody in prison for exploring their own consciousness with sacred plants, to me that is a gross breach of human rights, and it is morally repugnant in every possible way, and I will remain a campaigner on this matter for the rest of my days.
You can stand back and look at this planet and see that we have the money, the power, the medical understanding, the scientific know-how, the love, and the community to produce a kind of human paradise. But we are led by the least among us, the least intelligent, the least noble, the least visionary. We are led by the least among us, and we do not fight back against the dehumanizing values that are handed down as control icons.
So what they want is a world government which would dictate all major policies to every country. They want a world central bank that would control the whole of global finance for every country. They want a world currency which would not in the end be physical cash, but electronic money only. And there are fundamental implications for freedom in that. We are hurtling towards the cashless society. Oh, it's a good thing. Yes. If it was done benignly, it might be, but it ain't. It's the outcome and the reason for the outcome we need to focus on, not the actual thing itself necessarily so much. Today, if you go into a shop or whatever, and you hand over electronic money, a credit card, and they say, sorry, the computer won't accept your card, at least you can still say, oh, well, I'll pay cash then. What happens when there is no cash and that computer says, no way, Jose? You have no means of purchase. What does that mean? Total control. That's why it's there. They want a world army, and what I'm saying is all in these books from 15, nearly 20 years ago. A world army that would impose the will of the world government. I had a journalist said to me once, what would they want a world army for? There'd be no one to fight. I said, you're a journalist, aren't you? The people to fight would be any group, any nation that did not want to give over the total control of their lives to the decisions of the world government.
And at that point, they turned around and they handed it to Bernice Eddy, who was the official vaccine safety tester for the National Institute of Health, and said, approve this. And she took it and injected it to her monkeys, and she got back dead and crippled monkeys. And she took photos of it and said, if you release this, you're going to kill children. Okay? So you ought to delay this thing until we can figure out what the problem is. And they said, are you nuts? We've already told the public it's safe. We can't tell them there's a problem with it at this point. And they called Dr. Oshner down in New Orleans. Now, Dr. Oshner happens to be like one of the major stockholders, if not the major stockholder of the Cutter Laboratory that's producing the vaccine. And they said, you know...
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Doc, we got a problem here, and it's not with the other 5 labs, it's with Cutter, okay? And we need you to withdraw your vaccine quietly. And he said, I'm not doing that.
Well, I have studied many conspiracy theories in my life, and the absolute worst one I've ever heard is the official version of 9/11. We were told that 19 Muslim fanatics somehow bypassed our $40 billion defense system, hijacked 4 planes simultaneously, causing their transponders to go off almost at the exact same time, were totally lost from FAA radar, not to mention satellite radar and NORAD radar, made their way to New York and crashed into 2 prominent landmarks, the 2 towers of the World Trade Center, and then another one crashed into the Pentagon, and then another one crashed in Pennsylvania, and all of this under the direction of a Muslim cleric hiding in a cave in Afghanistan with a computer. Now, if that isn't about the craziest conspiracy theory I ever heard, and yet that is what we are expected to accept as the legitimate version of what happened on 9/11. But as anyone who studied the facts knows, there's too many gaps in that whole story. The evidence points to something much larger than that.
If anything's going to happen in this country to turn it around, we're going to need a renaissance, an intellectual, spiritual renaissance. Because you can't do it with arms. Adolf Hitler rose to power the same way George Bush did. It's the simple Mickey Mouse routine that it works every time. I'm ashamed of this country, and I'm ashamed of the people who call themselves Americans, who drive around with a damn silly-ass flag on their car and not even realize that's not an American flag.
We have to really be able to spiritually unify. We have to really be able to coordinate ourselves telepathically all over the planet. And we really have to have some type of goal that says we can do something that's the equivalent of the spiritual atomic bomb.
This is what's happening now. We're starting to wake up, and we have the opportunity now. It's a wonderful time to be alive, because all these things are coming together in this point we call time, where we have the opportunity to break out of this cycle of mental and emotional imprisonment. We're being offered the key with knowledge, with understanding, with the gathering, opening, awareness, and with the energy change that's underpinning that. It's now a time for us to decide if we're going to take the key and turn it, with all the implications that has for the challenges in this reality. But my goodness me, the freedom of becoming and returning to the true magnitude of who we are, and leaving behind this false identity that we have been manipulated to believe is us. There it is. There's the key for everyone, all of us, me too, to go like that. It's up to all of us to choose if we're going to do it. It's about time we did, I feel. Thank you very much.